Well, if you live in New York City, you know that the rent is too damn high, prompting many in this city to move out of the city and over into New Jersey. Rents have consistently gone up, even in rent-stabilized buildings. And when hearings are held to determine whether or not to raise the rent, the landlords complain they gotta raise the rent because the cost of heating and repairs demands it, while the tenants complain, you ain't giving no heat and your buildings are a wreck. So for what should our rent be raised when we don't even get the basics even now? The mayor appointed an entirely new rent guidelines board to hear the complaints of both sides and make a decision as to whether or not to raise the rent. And those hearings were just held days ago. And for the first time in history, a rent freeze was given for not only 1-year leases, but 2-year leases with a 0% increase, which is unheard of. Tenants and tenant advocates are rejoicing and celebrating because now they have relief from the rise and increase of rent, and the freeze will go into effect beginning October of this year through September of 2027. But wait, it ain't over, because immediately following the vote of that newly appointed board by the mayor, who voted in alignment and in agreement with the mayor's campaign promise to freeze the rent, a board member representing the landlords of this city has resigned. She resigned saying that the board had been stacked by the mayor to do precisely what it did, by order and directive of the mayor, and not through any due process or data which they are supposed to refer to in their decision making as to whether or not to raise the rent. Groups like the New York Apartment Association are actively discussing lawsuits following the 7-1 vote to freeze the rent. And the resignation of the board's only landlord representative, Christina Smith, who accused the panel of pursuing a preordained political outcome, has paved the way for legal challenges by alleging violations of due process and unconstitutional regulatory takings. In turn, the city is also aggressively litigating against landlords. For the Mayor's Office of Special Enforcement filed a multi-million-dollar lawsuit seeking court-appointed receivers for properties operating unregistered short-term rentals in rent-stabilized buildings. In addition, the Department of Housing Preservation and Development, better known as HPD, just secured a historic $31 million civil penalty, the largest in HPD history, against the owners of Robert Fulton Terrace and Fordham Towers for accumulating over 1,000 building violations. And as part of that court judgment, the city froze over $900,000 from the landlord's bank accounts and appointed an independent structuring or restructuring officer to strip the owners of operational control to ensure that the building's repairs are completed. So what about NYC? What are the plans of the mayor for NYC? Because they too have violations, and they too have tenants living in disrepair. And they have been begging and pleading and screaming from the rooftops about it. And the only remedy provided is to privatize it by handing it over to others who will profit from doing so, and at the expense of the tenant, who will be relocated and displaced after being forced and coerced to sign a new lease agreement for an apartment they won't even see for a year or two later. Now you tell me, where they do that at?